Hi, and welcome to this two-part Solidworks tutorial to create a toy diner kitchen. I see a lot of parents these days creating their own wooden toy kitchens for their children, so I thought this could be a really good tutorial for those who want to plan ahead. In part 1, we will create most of the kitchen structure using the main DXF sketch to guide us through creating all the kitchen panels and features. The DXF files for this tutorial will be available from the blog description. All the decals and accessories for the kitchen will be available in part 2. To begin, start a new part. Select in the front plane, go to Insert DXF and open the Toy Diner file. When the DXF options open, uncheck Import as Reference and select Next. Here there will be a preview of the DXF. The DXF file was created in millimeters, so we need to change the dimensions here to millimeters too. Then just click Finish. This was created in a vector program called CorelDRAW. I often create my designs in vectors before recreating it in Solidworks. It really helps me to map out my dimensions, create sketches to export as DXF files, and design custom decals. A small tip, if you draw your vectors in a dashed line, it will come into Solidworks as construction lines. Using Move Entities, select all the sketch and move it so that the bottom line is centered to the axis, and close the sketch. Start a new sketch onto the front plane and right-click onto this part of the sketch. Select Chain and convert the entities. Use the corner of the rectangle to sketch the bottom of the backboard from under the counter, here to here. Looking back, I should have kept the backboard as one whole piece to make the construction of the kitchen more sturdy, so feel free to fix this as you follow the tutorial. Extrude this sketch by 12mm. Then back onto the front plane with a sketch, draw over the two side sketches here with the rectangle, level with the backboard, and extrude these by 388mm to create the side panels, unmerging the result as it would be all constructed in pieces. This will be the case for most extruded features, so unless I say keep the feature merged, it will need to be unmerged. I'm also not going to worry about creating the fixings of this kitchen, it's just as a visual. For the middle panel, start a new sketch onto the back panel, and trace over with the rectangle again this middle section. Extrude it up to the edge vertex of the side panels so that it's level, and OK it. Sketching back onto the front plane, trace over the bottom panel here and extrude it by 388mm, same as the sides. Remember to unmerge the result as you go. For the dividing shelf, draw onto the backboard and trace over this section, extruding the sketch up to the end of the middle panel so that they're all level. On the front plane, trace over here with the rectangle and extrude the countertop panel by 400mm. Fill the four corners of the countertop by 20mm and sketching onto the countertop, make hidden lines visible. And tracing over the left panel from the bottom point, draw a rectangle 364mm by 12mm. Repeat this on the top of the middle panel and extrude cut the sketch by 12mm. To create the cooking section sides, I'm extending the side and middle panel to slot through the countertop. Sketching onto the top face of the side panel through the cut hole, convert the previous entities from the cut extrude feature, like this, and extrude it by 42mm, merging the result to the side and middle panels. You should be left with the panels looking like this. Create the back of the cooking section by sketching onto the countertop and drawing a rectangle from here so that it sits between each panel and is 12mm thick. Extrude it by 30mm and OK the feature to finish off the cooking section. Fillet the top corners of the panels by 20mm. When you've filleted the first edge, you can select the other edge here and select Enter on your keyboard. The previous feature will open again and you can fillet the edge quicker. This is a handy tip for filleting edges on separate bodies fast. Sketch onto the back panel and draw over the four shelf rails. These will hold the shelves in. Extrude them by 360mm and OK. Sketch onto the back panel again and trace over the oven and fridge shelves. And extrude these by 360mm too. Now I'm going to add the shelf cutouts. To do this quickly, I created a DXF for it. Select the oven shelves top face, Insert, DXF and open the shelves file. Untick Import as Reference and change the dimensions to millimeters, then Finish. Viewing the model with hidden lines visible, move the entities over the shelves so that the corner point of the sketch is on the corner of the shelf. Use Extrude Cut through all and change the feature scope to only cut through the two shelves. To add the oven and fridge doors, start a new sketch off the front of the side panels and right click on this edge. Select the chain and it should highlight the outer edge of the oven door. Convert these entities and do the same for the oven window and the 4 screw holes for the door hinges. You can hold Ctrl or Shift on your keyboard to select multiple chains. Repeat the process for the fridge door. Extrude the sketches by 9mm and flip the direction of the extrusion to go inwards. OK the feature to create the 2 doors. Next, to add the door's window panels, hide the lower back panel and sketching onto the back face of one of the doors, offset the door windows by 10mm each outwards. Extrude cut this by 3mm. This creates a recess for the window panels. Sketching onto the face, convert both cut faces and extrude these by 2mm, creating the window panel sheets. Bring the back panel into view again and start another sketch on the side panel front. Trace over and fill the 2 gaps here to create new panels. Extrude this by 9mm, flipping the direction inwards. To add the oven's dials, sketch onto this panel and use the circle to trace over the 4 dials. Extrude these by 12mm, ensuring to unmerge the bodies. Sketch onto the dial's extruded face and select the inner chain here, and holding Ctrl, select the other 3 inner sketches and convert them into entities. Extrude these by 6mm, but keep merge result ticked, and under feature scope select the 4 dials. Moving on to the backboard elements, start a sketch onto the backboard. Trace over the shelf and extrude it by 70mm. To create a recess for the sauce bottles, sketch onto the top of the shelf and use the centre line to draw a guide from the centre of the side edge in by 12mm, then by 42mm, 12mm, 42 and 12mm again up to the other edge. Use the circle and from the centre of this guide draw a 42mm circle and another here. Extrude this sketch out by 6mm. Soften the shelf edges with a fillet of 20mm on both sides. Then sketch onto the backboard again. Convert the entities of the peg's back panel and extrude it by 9mm. To create the pegs to hold the utensils, draw onto the face of the extrusion and draw circles in the centre of the guide sketch at 8mm each and extrude them by 20mm. Selecting the front face of one of the extrusions, select the dome feature and dome the face by 15mm. Just repeat this for the second peg. To create the kitchen's plinth, start a new sketch on the front plane and trace the back plinth panel from here to here, extruding it by 12mm. To do the sides, start another sketch on the front plane and trace over the 2 side panel edges like this and extrude these by 365mm. Close off the panel plinth by sketching onto the end of the side panel here and draw a rectangle to cover the plinth ends. Extrude this by 12mm. To create the oven and fridge handles, sketch onto one of the door faces and trace over the 4 handle ends like this. Extrude them all by 35mm unmerged. Shape the handle ends using the fillet tool and fillet the bottom edge of the oven handle ends by 20mm and the fridge handle's right sides by 20mm. Then fillet the other edges by 15mm so that you're left with this. To add the handlebar, start a new sketch on the inner face of the oven's handle ends and draw a circle from the 15mm filleted edge centre here. It should be 20mm. Extrude it by 234mm. But in this case, we need to centre it between the handle ends. To do this, change the From options here to Offset and offset the feature start 4.5mm, reversing the direction to look like this. Unmerge the result and OK the feature. Now, to create the hole for the handle to sit in into the ends, sketch back onto the end face and convert the sketch of the handle extrusion like this. Extrude cut the sketch in the same way as the extrusion before, offsetting the feature by 4.5mm but reversed, and change the feature scope to only cut through the handle end bodies. When you hide the handlebar, the ends should look like this. Repeat the process for the fridge handle, only this time the handlebar needs to be 149mm long. The extrude boss should also be offset by 4.5mm. To create the diner kitchen sign, sketch onto the backboard and trace over the sketch with 6 circles. Extrude this sketch by 30mm to create the poles. Sketch onto the front face of one of the poles. Right-click and select the chain of the sign here. Convert the entities and extrude it by 9mm. For the last feature of this tutorial, I'm going to add a cutout onto the sides of the kitchen, which would make it easier to move the toy around. Starting a sketch onto the side panel, draw a centre line horizontally across the top edge, and draw an 80mm centre line vertically down from the centre. This will act as a centre point for the slot sketch. Draw a horizontal slot from the centre and change the dimensions to 25mm by 145mm. Extrude cut this through all, selecting the 2 outer side panels for the feature scope. With the main structure of the kitchen finished, part 2 of this tutorial will involve adding the countertop details and sink. It will also involve adding appearances and decals to complete the design. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching.